here and
30 this.
set it separately.
Steve Rowe coming as the engineer at that point.
Here, you can have this one. Oh, you
I have one here.
I think I did too.
Yeah,
So we were right at about the same time.
Figured we were. I just noticed. You didn't. That's good. Do what you said you were gonna do. Oh, man, well, gotta do it. If I want it, I want it.
Okay, it's 6 o'clock and we're going to bring the October 23rd meeting to order. We will begin with roll call, please.
Walters.
Here.
Dvorak.
Here.
Sarchet.
Here.
Vogel. Here. Anderson.
Here.
Item number 3, approval of agenda. I'll have a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Vogel. Yes. Anderson.
Yes.
Walters. Dvorak.
Yes.
Sarchet.
Yes.
Item 4 is a presentation, Citizens Academy Certificate of Completion to a number of people. Is there anything you wanted to say, Chelsea?
No, I think most of them are here, but I think we had fun together the last few weeks. I appreciate all of you participating, and the council does too, so thank you.
You ready for the pop quiz?
Shaylin Nystrom. Hi, Shaylin. Thank you for doing this. I did it too. I
Yeah.
thought it was very valuable.
It was, thank you.
Oh, man. Jesse McKelvey. Yeah, Jesse, back there. Thank you, Jesse. Gotta be faster. Diane McDonald. Well, of course, you're on the other side.
We could have had them come up to you.
Robert Kerr. Robert's in the back. Robert, thank you. Thank you. We're getting there. Jenny Taylor. Jenny, there you go. Thank you very much. Jen Finn.
That would be me.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
And Nick Oates. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, sir.
If I may, just quick comment, thanking everybody for being part of the Citizens Academy. I think as leaders here, it's really nice people on the ground that are learning more about city government and being able to know where to go for answers and understanding just certain aspects of government that inherently just aren't there on the surface. There's many layers to it, you guys know. So thank you for being part of the community, coming in, and please share with others to do it as well.
I would echo that. Thank you for taking the time to invest. I know it's a commitment to do this, and so we really appreciate you guys investing in our community, learning about it, and again, hopefully you encourage others to do so as well. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, might lead you to run for council, right, Nick?
That might be the impetus. Okay, we will move on to item number 5 then, public comments. This is the time and place for comments for any item other than those that are a public hearing. Has anyone notified us, Jenny? All right, then we will move on then to item number 6, which is consent items, and I'll ask for a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Sarchet.
Yes.
Vogel.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Dvorak.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, before we move on, one of them I know the public's very interested in, if we could just talk about it, and that's the High Trestle Trail project, money for spending and what that's gonna be. I've had a lot of questions about it. So if Travis or whoever would wanna tell us what these first few steps are, and so the public will be better informed.
Yep, so you today awarded the contract to Des Moines Dirt Works for the High Trestle Trail Neil Smith Connector Project Phase 2. That is the first step in what we're calling a 7-step process of connecting the northern Polk City city limits to the Neil Smith Trail, which will eventually mean that you're connected from the High Trestle Trail to the Neil Smith Trail once Polk County gets it to Polk City city limits. The project that the contract you awarded to Des Moines Dirt Works tonight will be for the construction of the trail along the south property line of the school out near Vista Lake. It'll run from the North 3rd Street right-of-way to the future public park. It's going to be just short of a half-mile of trail, and it's the first step in a process that the council has prioritized of connecting Neil Smith to High Trestle through the heart of Polk City.
Thank you.
Since you asked on that, Ron, do we have an update on the county side on their connection piece?
We do not have an update right now. No.
And the last was that they were working with farmers / landowners on
Yes.
they've established a preferred route and are in negotiations.
Yes. Yep.
Moving on to 7 then, business items. A, Resolution 2023-129, approving Home State Bank site plan amendment. Travis, I understand you're going to speak.
Yes, Mayor. So this is a site plan amendment to a site plan that should seem fairly familiar to this council. Back in August of 2022, the original site plan for the Home State Bank that's currently under construction was approved. That site plan did not have a monument sign as proposed as the original or as part of the original improvements. So Home State Bank has submitted a site plan amendment to add a monument sign that consists of building materials consistent with the outside of their building. A small electronic board will be part of that monument sign. There will be no uplighting as part of that sign. And then in addition to the monument sign, the site plan amendment includes some revisions to landscaping, an extension of a trash enclosure to shield a backup generator for emergency purposes to power the bank should the power go out. It includes a revised cluster mailbox location. The cluster mailbox was originally proposed against the building. The new postmaster in Polk City would like to see it revised, and so it will back onto the public sidewalk along Bridge Road. It will be on private property and will be serviced from the parking lot, but it gives the postmaster and better access to that cluster mailbox, and at least in their view. We've discussed this with Public Works and they're agreeable to this new location. It does lie within a sanitary sewer easement, so we've had the developer add notes to the site plan that should work in the sanitary sewer easement be required. They would be required to remove and replace that cluster mailbox at their own cost. So the city would not be on the hook for that piece into the sanitary sewer easement.
Anybody else speaking on this?
No. I do have Trent Smith, McClure Engineering on Zoom if you have questions.
So we did talk about planning and zoning, and the committee was unanimously okay with the changes, sign ordinances. Obviously, that is already approved and taken care of before this, but also with the generator enclosure, there was no additional comments, so they were really fine with that as well.
I guess that is worth one clarification. Thank you for the sign discussion, the sign amendments. So as part of the site plan amendment as well, there's a note on there that should the electronic board be distracting or otherwise impede the function of the adjacent intersection, the city manager does have the authority to tell the property owner that they need to adjust that to make it less impeding on the traveling public as well. So should those lights be too intense, too bright, that kind of thing, the city does have means by which to have them turn down the brightness.
Well, I was going to ask a question of him, presumably, unless we know. Do they have a target date? Like they're making pretty good progress on it.
Trent, did you hear Rob Sarchett ask what your timeline is?
I did. Unfortunately, can you hear me, I guess? Question.
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Okay. did. Unfortunately, I don't have a target date yet, provided by Paperwork, but I will get that to Rob or Mandy or anyone else, maybe Ron at the cafe if I cross paths with it, as soon as I have. But right now, I don't have a target date. I know it's probably been a little bit slower than what council has expected, slower than I think we've expected just with materials and things like that. But we're happy with how it's looking on the corner there now that the siding material's up and things like that. But when I can get a confident date from the construction group, I'll be sure to pass it.
Thank you.
So I'll ask for a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2023-129, approving Home State Bank Site Plan Amendment.
Second.
Roll call.
Walters,
Yes.
Dvorak,
Yes.
Sarchet,
Yes.
Vogel, Anderson.
Yes.
Moving on to item B, Resolution 2023-130, approving parcel 2023-72 plat of survey within 2 miles of Polk City corporate boundary. Travis, again?
Yes, so tonight for your consideration, as the line item would suggest, this is a plat of survey located within Polk City's extraterritorial jurisdiction. I will admit it's towards the edge of that jurisdiction. It's over a mile outside of your current corporate limits. Since it is in the ETJ, this lot should meet or exceed the R1 requirements as illustrated by Polk City's code, which the developer has substantially achieved. We have provided an agreement to install water main and a sidewalk deferral agreement, which the developer will have to sign prior to the city releasing this plat of survey to be recorded. And then as part of this approval, they're requesting 3 waivers. The first being, so the overall 160 acres has previously been split via plat of survey per Polk City's code. That would typically require a minor plat of subdivision. The developer is still fulfilling many of the requirements that ask for a subdivision, primarily the agreements to defer water main and sidewalk construction. And Polk County has allowed the developer to proceed with a plat of survey. So we would recommend waiver of that rule, or of that code requirement. Polk City code also generally discourages flag lots. The developer has requested a waiver or a variance on, or a waiver of that requirement. Since the adjacent roadway has a posted speed limit of 55 miles an hour, they believe that placing the buildable portion of this lot further from the road in its current state makes more sense than having an R1 lot or a very wide lot directly adjacent to that roadway. And then the third requirement is the waiver of the hydrant coverage. All R1 buildable areas have to be covered by a hydrant. Municipal water is not available in this location, so we would recommend waiver of that hydrant coverage rule as well. As part of the P&Z's review, they requested that setbacks be shown on the plat of survey instead of simply listed, and which the developer's engineer has provided following the P&Z meeting, which is shown in the plat of survey packets.
Okay, then, thank you very much. We will ask for a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2023-130, approving parcel 2023-72 plat of survey within 2 miles of Polk City corporate boundary. So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Vogel,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Dvorak,
Yes.
Sarchet.
Yes.
Moving on to item C, pre-campaign process agreement with Renaissance Group Incorporated, RGI. Jason?
Yeah, in your packet tonight is a letter of agreement with the Renaissance Group for a pre-campaign process in regards to the regional park project. A pre-campaign process, also known as a feasibility study. This consulting Renaissance Group would come in. They would identify community leaders that have a vested interest in this project, would like to see it done. And through that process, we would identify not the if, but the how. How do we fund such a large project? So they really look into the community of Polk City, Central Iowa as a whole, It identifies potential donors, both on a private and a commercial business landscape. Then, we cultivate those relationships. By the time that the pre-campaign process is done, we should be in a position where we know what the community would and to what capacity support the project. And then that kind of kicks us off into the capital campaign where we're actively seeking these funds toward the project. Chelsea Huseman and myself met with a few different consultants. Renaissance Group kind of stood out to us. Their timeline is very advantageous with trying to kickstart this large project. It would be about a 5-month process starting in November. And then at which case, toward the end, again, we would know what the community really wants in terms of dollars and cents, and we can see what they would support in that capacity. And then that leaves other decisions to the city at that point in terms of additional funding needed or project revision. The task force would comprise of community leaders, whether they be staff, elected official, board representation, just around the community. We would like them to come in on November 6th, talk with the Park Commission, exactly how that body will be involved in this process. And then again on November 13th, they would come and address council, answer any questions, and really lay out how this body would be involved in the process. Typically in a large capital campaign like the regional park, this gets done at about this point. It's time to see what the community will support. And then decisions are made after that.
I would like to add that the Parks Commission was involved from the very beginning. It was something they talked about at meetings. Would like to see happen.
I think it's an important first step as we continue to evolve. Again, not just kicking the can down the road, putting money toward this to an eventual conclusion. That it's essentially really helping the community understand that there is a need, as we will know, but let's validate that and quantify it based on what the professionals say, not what we organically hear as well. So I like this. And it's budgeted, so it was something we plan on doing. All of them. So thank you for your work on that.
Yeah, this is exciting. I'm looking forward to, in the past, and I think we have to acknowledge our past history here with this. We've done it on the backs of volunteers, and I think probably past that point for a number of reasons, not just from a growth standpoint, but getting good information. And if you look around the metro, there are a handful of these, and every single one of them got to their conclusion in a completely different way. Grimes, Waukee, West Des Moines, Ankeny, all of them were very different. So I'm most interested in their assessment of where we are, what the best path forward is, what the community can get behind. And I think sometimes, as much as I don't like spending money on some of these things that technically probably could be done in-house or through volunteers, that outside viewpoint really helps out. And when you're starting a significant effort, I think we're fortunate to be able to have the land and have paid that through reserves. It gives us a huge jump. 80 acres is a sizable chunk. So we've got a worthy canvas to build a good plan on from. So very looking forward to this and very excited by it.
I would echo that. I think we've done a good job, the past few years of getting information that helps us make decisions. And this regional park has just been the thing that's been stumping, as a council member. I have a kid that plays soccer and a kid that plays baseball, so I'm well aware of the need and I want to get this done, but it's a huge price tag. So I really appreciate that we are going to get some, not just feel like I'm, like I said, this is me personally, but I just can't figure out how to move forward. You look at a lot of other communities have, big investors or private developers gets going, and this will help us figure out, hopefully, how to at least get something forward on this. So, thank you.
And for those around, we tried 2 different bond campaigns, before, was it 2000? Feels like forever ago. 2 different times within 4 years of each other, and they both failed miserably. So that's why we need expert advice on not just going with our guts, but being able to have a third party objective at it. So this is a great step.
So one maybe less rah-rah question. I do have, so they've worked on all kinds of stuff, and I do trust your judgment and the assessment of picking RGI. The only thing that they've done in the metro is Urbandale. Is that relatively recent? Is there?
Yeah, I believe they worked on the Walnut Creek Regional Park out on the west side, Urbandale. Yes, they also did work with Des Moines Waterworks as well, as they really revamped that space.
The Des Moines Waterworks Park?
Correct, yes,
Okay,
Des Moines
okay.
Waterworks Park, yeah. So, yeah, what you see there is kind of a culmination of how people want to better utilize that space. So yes, they've done a lot of work in quality of life in like the Iowa City, Cedar Rapids corridor.
Yeah. I looked at the list looking for suburbs and ignored Des Moines was on there, so good morning.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion and a second to approve item C, pre-campaign process agreement with Renaissance Group Incorporated, RGI. Roll call.
Vogel?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
DeVorak?
Yes.
Sarchet?
Yes.
Moving on to D, amendment number 1 in the amount of $15,500 for construction services with Snyder and Associates related to High Trestle Trail to Neil Smith Trail Connector Project Phase 2. Travis?
So for council's consideration tonight is a professional service agreement amendment, amending our original agreement for the High Trestle Trail, Smith Trail Connect project. This is kind of how we've been doing engineering construction contracts since Polk City hired Nick Furnace, the construction inspector, kind of evaluating his workload and then determining what Polk City's needs are for each individual project. We've determined through discussions with staff and Public Works that Nick has the capacity to observe this project. So this contract amendment is purely for construction staking and then construction administration, including preparation of payment applications, review of material submittals, attendance at construction meetings, and then taking the project all the way through project acceptance and closeout. And those are split $7,500 for construction staking. So that would include marking all trees for removal, all easements and right-of-way, as well as providing paving information for the contractor once we get to the point where we're installing the trail. And then the $8,000 would be administration from, tonight, contacting the contractor to get a pre-construction meeting scheduled all the way through project closeout.
And how does that differ from our original, or we would have had to? So we're basically doing this separate because of the scope of work, and
Yeah.
we've identified the scope, so.
So the way we've done things since the city hired Nick was we'll do strictly design, and then we come in and we evaluate the needs of each project from a construction services perspective.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that
Yep.
Everybody knew kind of what that meant and the reason to do it that way.
Yep.
Thank you.
So the amendment is an additional $15,500 than we had previously. From an additional amount than we had planned to spend, period, or that we had budgeted for, knowing that we were going to debate between essentially in-house or through.
So this would have been budgeted into the overall project cost. You just signed an agreement for design and bidding services, and then this is added on afterward because we know what Nick's workload looks like for the next 6 months now, which we wouldn't have known when we signed the contract at the beginning of this year.
So each situation like this is not necessarily unbudgeted.
Correct.
It's just allocated between you and our staff that we have hired
Correct.
as a city employee. And each time we'll have a decision like this where we approve the extra amount to Snyder if necessary based on
Correct.
workload, and that may fluctuate. So that's why it's an amendment. It's not assumed from the get-go that you'll do, X, Y, Z. It's
Right.
each time. Well,
I do want to add something. So, okay, so the council previously approved the design contract with Snyder and Associates. There is more to engineering than just the design part. There's construction administration, construction observation, and then he's got construction staking, which you may not have in every single project, correct? So moving forward, now that we have a construction observer on staff that can handle most of the workload for construction observation on big projects, we're going to try to include everything in Snyder's agreements so that we don't have to come back with an amendment. It's something that I think that we've just talked about recently that we need to do a better job of. So I can't promise that there will be no amendments going forward, but we will do our best when we bring an engineering agreement in front of the council that it will include everything but construction observation.
I think that's a good idea. Or a good plan for efficiently time, and amendment always just sounds, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I like that.
It's been a little bit, we've just been maneuvering through this, having a construction observer on staff, and it's something that we're working through as we continue to get better at it, but.
Remind us of how long we've had the construction observer.
It would be approximately a year and a half now. So, yeah, and he really, found his feet here, at the beginning of this construction season. He went through the first few months, just learning, right, and watching, and then he had some certificates to get also, which he's got all of those except for one, so he was supposed to get 4. He ended up getting another one that we didn't ask for. He wanted it himself, but there's just one more that he has to do, and that one is not absolutely needed either. So anyway, he's been doing his work, and he's hit the ground, and it was more about workload on this one, because what do we have? And we had some ones out there, but it's gonna work fine on this one. That he will be, and like Chelsea just said, for most of them, we're just going to assume that he's going to be able to do it, unless we have a crazy
you have
amount.
something crazy, but now he's gotten to the point where his production has stabilized a little. He's not got as much learning and that kind of stuff, so you guys have a better ability to predict that now.
And honestly, last year's construction season was crazy, and so we probably did more helping than was anticipated last season because of all the development that was happening. And then this summer is slow.
Yeah.
And we're anticipating a slower spring.
So let me ask a question, and Travis, tell me if this isn't fair to you, but because we have Nick on staff, how much more would we have had to spend with you guys of the work that he's absorbed?
This amendment would probably be at least 3 times.
Okay.
It's just a back of the envelope estimation.
I know that's, yeah, probably not fair.
But
I'm
thank you,
intimidated.
that helps give, the context.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I'm intimidated having Mike since I'm supposed to rattle.
There's a purpose.
I know. But no, I think it's good to, again, they were good moves because you can't always line item out, bringing something in-house, but to have a ballpark is a good idea. Appreciate that.
In simplest terms, it means we're making sure we get what we paid for.
All right, I'll have a motion and a second to approve amendment number 1 in the amount of $15,500 for construction services with Snyder and Associates related to the High Trestle Trail to Neil Smith Trail Connector Project Phase 2.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Dvorak,
Yes.
Sarchet,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Walters.
Moving on to E, second reading of ordinance 2023-8100, amending chapter 115 cable television regulations. I'll ask for a motion and a second, please.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Vogel,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Dvorak,
Yes.
Sarchet.
Item F, third reading of ordinance 2023-9600, amending chapter 69 parking regulations, winter parking. I'll ask for a motion and a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Vogel,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Dvorak,
Yes.
Sarchet.
Yes.
Moving on to item number 8, reports and particulars. We will begin with staff, please. Anything?
Go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted
First time
to.
we've ever had 2 hands.
No, I just wanted to highlight, project just took place up at Miller Park. Earlier this year, we had to lose 8 gigantic ash trees due to emerald ash borer. Throughout the summer, it was a hot, barren wasteland of heat. But that's not the time to plant trees. Well, like I said, we took out 8. We recently spaded in 10. So really excited that the landscape of that park has shade again. And I really want to thank the Polk City Arbor League that partnered with me on the project, financially and education-wise. Obviously, Ken and Phil are a wealth of knowledge when it comes to trees. And then also Public Works. They helped us that day, mulching, getting them watered in. So, they were ready for the winter 24 hours after they went in the ground. So feel free to go up there and check it out. Looks like a proper park again. Really happy with the way it turned out.
I just want to, this isn't my turn here, but I want to say thank you for that to you and the others. So this summer I went on vacation and my son noticed another community that was a Tree City, USA. And what 10-year-old would know what that even means, except for one that lives here in Polk City that's had all the work that's been invested here. The, kids at the school have been taught what it means, the importance of it. So thank you for your efforts too in keeping that going, and especially to Ken and the Arbor League to make a difference here for us.
I wanted to provide council with an update on the previous roundabout. We will be meeting with the contractor on site next week. You're nearing the end of your 108-day warranty period. So we'll get all the landscaping looked at, make sure everything's ready to accept, and then I would anticipate accepting that project sometime in November.
I'm glad to hear that. There's some confusion down there in Wolf Creek. The people that live there about which trees were removed for the roundabout, which trees were removed for other things. They're wondering why trees aren't being replaced. So, and that's what I keep telling them. It's something with the contractor, and the city will try to get the bottom of it.
Chelsea?
So the council is aware, On With Life, second reading was not on the agenda tonight. That was my mistake. So what I would propose to the council is we have the second reading on the November 13th council agenda, and I would recommend that the council consider suspending the rules and waiving the third reading that night so we do not cost them additional time for their rezoning application. That's all I have.
Okay. Council?
Not my birthday, so I'm gonna wait my turn and make the same point that Mandy made. I do want to acknowledge you, Jason, because I know you properly and justifiably acknowledged the Arbor League, and specifically Ken and Phil, because they planted however many thousand trees, but it's easy to work with them because you're part of the Arbor League, and I don't know how many Parks and Rec directors would go to that length to join a group like that, in addition to meetings like this and all the daily tasks. So kudos to you for doing that, and for them for all the work that they've put in. And then I wanted to acknowledge Tanner and Nate Reese in their promotion to captain lieutenant. Nate was on when I was on, so it's always good to see you guys, especially him becoming an officer again. So good job to those two.
Anyone else? We've got a couple of big activities coming up here the next 2 evenings. City Council Candidates Forum on Tuesday, October 24th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Luena. And we'd like to invite as many people as possible to come to Luena and sit in the audience and listen to our 5 candidates for City Council. We're also going to live stream that through the city's YouTube channel, and we will get that address out sort of ASAP after the City Council meeting tonight. Also, we've got a series of questions for that, and we're going to work our way through those questions. We did invite the public to submit any questions and said we would try to work those in if we could. And then at the end, because we don't anticipate our council candidates talking for 2 hours, we'll set some time aside for them to just be there to visit with anybody who has any specific questions of their own for any city council candidates. So that is item number 1, tomorrow night. On Wednesday night, from 6 to 8 p.m. at Luena, we will host the school board candidates forum, and there are 3 candidates who are running for 2 positions there. And very much the same thing. We have questions and then invite people to talk to the candidates after we've gone through all the questions. This is a Go Polk City sponsored event, and we're really looking forward to it. And that one will be streamed through the school district's YouTube page. Anything else, Jenny? You're nodding, which means I'm not making any mistakes here.
Sound great.
Okay, that's good. The other thing that I would just like to mention, I picked up on it when Rob mentioned volunteerism in Polk City. And I mentioned at our last meeting that Chelsea and I would be sitting down with the community visioning folks. And that is happening tomorrow, and they're going to interview us on the success of the community visioning campaign that we did back in 2019 to 2020. So we're excited about that because that was a great volunteer community city relationship, and it's easy to say great things about that. And then finally, it's Mandy's birthday. So happy birthday, Mandy. With that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn in a second, please.
I think the birthday girl should start.
I can't, I'll do the second. You got it, Ron.
All right, motion to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. We are.
You guys don't care.